Hello everyone, welcome to your weekly tech update, the show that explores the newest, coolest, and craziest side of tech available on the interwebs. I am your tech leader, Ray McNeil. Coming up on the program today, researchers synthesize room temperature superconducting material for the first time ever. Tesla increases the range for existing Model Y EVs through a software update. Happening in this week's What The? Sit-down dining has returned outdoors to many cities around the world. Razer made a light-up prepaid credit card because, gamers. And Simone Gertz, she's the self-described queen of bad robots. Well, she's created a selfie photo booth out of Legos for her dog. And we'll wrap up the program with this week's Moment of Joy. All that and a whole lot more coming up on today's edition of your weekly tech update next. Compressing simple molecular solids with hydrogen at extremely high pressures, University of Rochester engineers and physicists recently have, for the first time ever, created material that is superconducting at room temperature. Featured as the cover story in the journal Nature, the work was conducted by the lab of Ragna Diaz, an assistant professor of physics and mechanical engineering. Diaz says developing materials that are superconducting without electrical resistance and expulsion of magnetic field at room temperature is, quote, the holy grail of condensed matter physics. Sought for more than a century, such materials can definitely change the world as we know it, Diaz says. In setting the new record, Diaz and his research team combined hydrogen with carbon and sulfur to photochemically synthesize simple organic-derived carbonaceous sulfur hydride in a diamond anvil cell. That's a research device used to examine minuscule amounts of materials under extraordinarily high pressure. The carbonaceous sulfur hydride exhibited superconductivity at about 58 degrees Fahrenheit and at a pressure of about 39 million psi. This is the first time that superconducting material has been observed at room temperatures. Because of the limits of low temperature, materials with such extraordinary properties have not quite transformed the world in the way that many might have imagined. However, our discovery will break down these barriers and open the door to many potential applications, says Diaz, who is also affiliated with the University Material Science and High Energy Density Physics program. Applications could include power grids that transmit electricity without loss, a new way to propel levitated trains, and other forms of transportation. Medical imaging and scanning techniques such as MRIs could get much faster, and more efficient electronics for digital logic and memory device technology could emerge. We live in a semiconductor society, and with this kind of technology, you can take society into a superconducting society where you'll never need things like batteries ever again. That comes from Ashkan Salamat at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. That's a co-author of the discovery. The amount of superconducting material created by the diamond anvil cells is measured in picoliters, about the size of a single inkjet particle. The next challenge, Diaz says, is finding ways to create the room temperature superconducting materials at lower pressures so they will be economical to produce in greater volumes. 3D TVs are effectively dead. Consequently, so is the race to deliver glasses-free 3D sets at home. But that doesn't mean the technology is entirely useless. Sony's new Spatial Reality Display, or SR display, for example, uses eye-tracking technology to render believable 3D objects without the need to wear 3D glasses or put on a VR headset. It's something CG and VR artists could use to preview their work easily. And no, it's not meant for consumers. at least not at its $5,000 price tag anyway. Sony first previewed the SR display at CES this year, where it was called its eye-sensing light field display. It's made up of a 15.6-inch 4K LCD, a high-speed vision sensor that tracks eye movement, as well as your position as you walk around the display. It also has micro-optical lenses that lay over the LCD and divides the screen for your left and right eyes to create a stereoscopic image. The SR display requires a beefy PC with at least a modern Intel Core i7 CPU and NVIDIA's RTX 2070 Super GPU to process its complex real-time rendering algorithms. That makes sense, however, since it's producing two separate 2K images consistently to match each eye movement. For obvious reasons, we couldn't see the spatial reality display in action ahead of this announcement, but Engadget UK Bureau Chief Matt Smith, who previewed it at CES, described the screen as something like a potted hologram demo that was small, fuzzy, and unremarkable. While Sony is talking about it as a glasses-free 3D screen, promotional videos make it seem like a small stage for holographic objects. Given how difficult it is for creatives to collaborate today, the spatial reality display could also be useful to view complex 3D models and scenes remotely. Sony's spatial reality display will be available in November for $5,000 from the company's site and some retailers. I'm fairly sure cars were supposed to be flying by this time, but instead we've managed something else that would have felt like science fiction a decade ago: playing Xbox games on your fridge. That's right. Someone has managed to get Microsoft's xCloud service up and running on a Samsung smart fridge. Instagram user Richard Mallard has managed this feat of modern engineering, sideloading the Android version of the Xbox Game Pass onto his fridge. The app runs in portrait mode on Samsung's smart fridge, but games appear at the correct aspect ratio alongside cheese, beers, and whatever other essentials you store inside. Keeping with the tradition of running Doom games on unusual hardware, Mallard picked Doom Eternal, a modern installment in the series. We've even seen Doom running inside Minecraft recently. Doom Eternal is also the first game to arrive on Xbox Game Pass following Microsoft's acquisition of ZeniMax. While xCloud running on a smart fridge is certainly amusing, it also means Microsoft's game streaming service is available on a fridge before it's launched on an iPad or iPhone. Apple has been blocking services like xCloud and Stadia from iOS and iPadOS, but the company did offer an olive branch recently, which would mean Microsoft and others would be able to package cloud games into separate apps on the App Store. It's a ridiculous restriction that doesn't exist on Android, allowing xCloud to run across a variety of handsets, tablets, and yes, now even a smart fridge. Microsoft wasn't impressed with Apple's recent cloud gaming policy changes, and the company is now pressing ahead with a web version to bypass Apple's restrictions altogether. During a recent hands-on meeting at Microsoft, Xbox chief Phil Spencer revealed a direct browser-based solution for xCloud will be available in early 2021. Now, he didn't mention smart fridges, but this video shows that they're not a problem either.